the end of movies where
Yes. Yeah.
it would be nice that
I did one of our 40-minute sessions because last time we did 3 40-minute sessions.
yeah.
I think this is
Some of these stories we'll capture, and this will be like the
Yeah.
making of.
Yes.
You
And
know?
then to just
Also-
start that we know how to ask other questions and everything of the people who know more. Because I was just, as you guys were talking, I was thinking it would be kind of interesting to know what the marriages or relationships were like between the different aunts and uncles. Because even when I think of our grandmother, right? And so you call her Celia Valentina, I guess.
Yeah.
You say Mama Diaz and Nino. Yeah. I know growing up, I don't know how you felt, Serena, but sometimes I would see Nino and Mama Diaz together and I couldn't figure it out. Because she was like, first of all, like do you remember, Celia, all he ever did was like, it just seemed like he sat, he read, and read, and pruned his nails. Remember, he was always on his nails. And he was always very like crisp and whatever. And not that she was a mess or anything. She just always seemed more like, more
sweaty,
sort of
overheated.
What?
More
He was always sweating and overheated.
Oh, Mama Diaz? There was a little
Yeah.
bit of that. Right, but
I always thought she was sort of glamorous.
is that
Really?
right? Well, maybe that's because where you saw her, but like, here's the deal, like, and I didn't think of her this way, but sometimes when I saw them together, or I don't know, the way that they would react, I felt like he looked at her like she was somewhat, I don't know, pedestrian, is that the word? Or just something like a bit condescending in a way, like not, I can't really, did you guys have that feeling sometimes? Maybe it was
Definitely it. And then she was his wife.
Right.
Yeah, something. So I would be very, but I mean, I don't know how they really, I mean, they traveled a lot. I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know what their real relationship was. Obviously, as soon as she was gone,
I don't think they had any relationship.
but it'd be interesting to know a little bit of what the relationship like was of the others. And
Yeah.
maybe to your point, Serena, maybe because of the times, because there were kids involved, because of other things, they tolerated obviously a whole lot more than we might not tolerate now, right? But you know, I don't know. Like, did Adela ever get married then? I'm sorry, did
We
she?
do have a marriage certificate,
Have a,
which is one of the documents that I found.
all right.
I don't know anything about him. I've never heard of him.
Yeah.
So that's where the name Oliveras came from.
Right. Carlos Oliveira, she married him in 1936 in New York, and I've never heard of him.
So then the only one who would really know about them would be like maybe Elaine and Vivian might have known them, but I don't even know timing.
No, I don't think they weren't born.
Maybe it was a brief relationship. I visited your grandmother when she was married, when obviously she was married to Uncle Nino, and they still in the service.
Yeah.
And I think they were in South Carolina or something. And we went to visit them and stayed with them in the, officer housing, which is a really nice house. And she was, of course, like the perfect hostess. Everything was just perfect.
Right.
And
I think she was a good wife for
Yeah.
his station and what he did. She hosted a lot. She was very social. She had a social
Yeah.
life.
yeah,
Right.
she really, we stayed there for several days. It was really so nice. I was so impressed, being on the base and he was and who she was and how she was. And
That wasn't where did Claudia go, Serena? She was in Austin? No, where did she go?
Yeah.
Where's the
Yeah.
Alamo?
No, yeah, I think so. Claudia still thinks of that as like her worst 2 weeks of her life. Like she had mom and dad bring her home early because she's like, all mama does is cook. That's all she does. Like you can imagine.
Yeah.
Imagine Claudia's Claudia,
Right.
at mama's house. But something as we're talking about like all these stories, Sienna asked me today. Sienna was with Kayla and Troy today, and they started the movie Soul Surfer about the girl who gets her arm bitten off by a shark, and then she turns back and she said, "Are they going to tell her whole story?" And I said, "Well, no. In a story like this, you have to decide what is it about the story you want to tell? What is it you want to tell? And you pick your beginning, middle, end." So here we're talking about all these stories, and there's so many of them. And I guess we kind of have to think about like, what stories do we want to tell? Because that's going to also drive our questions. These are all these stories about, I wonder about their men and why they stayed and how, all these questions. I mean, those are stories and interviews that can go on for hours. It's like, what do we want on this website? What do we want,
Yeah. Well, when I think about this, I think about the future, not about the past. I mean, we use the past about the future, but I think that if we threw out adjectives of who we define ourselves as a family, maybe those are the adjectives. That's what we use to create the questions, because resilience is something that is such a Jimenez trait. I mean, all of those Jimenez, like starting out poor, they would live in one place, and then after 12 months they would have to move to the fourth floor walk up. Like all those things, or my grandmother having the store in Puerto Rico, and Henyo and my mother buying things at Kresge's to send to her so she could sell. They're all such stories of resilience, and I think that I would wish that we all talk about our families and how we have been trained to be resilient people. Because
really they took care of each other, right? The way
that's another quality, like how they took care of each other. You didn't have enough money, you moved in with me. You were going to school in a place that you don't have a place. You move in with me. We share a meal. There's always plenty of rice and beans. Like I think that if we have some of those qualities that we really like, I think those are the stories for the future. That's what
have a bastard folder though, because
what's that?
I just like the idea of a bastard folder.
though, 'cause it might be that brings them in, and then they're like, what's this resilience folder?
Although I have to tell you, this call has been worth it, because now I understand why there are so many pictures of Dad, Vanessa, dressed as a woman for Halloween. Like, it's very natural for him, picking out dresses. He's like, I shop for dresses much more than I've shopped for suits. I've been doing this all my life.
Your father was a buyer for Alexander's.
Oh, yes, that's right.
He was.
Yeah.
That explains a lot.
Dad being someone who was raised by women, basically.
Yeah.
And then I realized, when they say you marry your father, I mean, Adam was raised by women.
That's a good
There was his mother, his grandmother, and his sister in the house, and that was it. So
yeah.
Sometimes I have to remind myself that when he's very tolerant of me, I'm realizing that's not saying anything about me, just that he's grown to be very patient with women.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it's funny, after that second reunion, we had a few days passed, or a couple of days passed, and we were back at the room just talking. And Danny turns to Art and says, okay, we knew that the girls had it from the Ramirez side. That's my mother's side, about strong women and being type A personalities. He goes, Art, we're damned. It's on the Jimenez side too. This is why these girls are like this.
They're all
From the
liars.
Jimenezes and from the Ramirezes. And my mother would go, and what's wrong with that?
There we go.
So today I drove up to see Claudia. Kids, the kids are masked. Claudia and I stay, around her island, and we stay masked. So Steve's kind of just sacked out, lying on the couch, and Sean comes in to say hello. And Sean's like, wait a second, you're leaving in like 3 hours? I said, yeah. He goes, doesn't it take you about 2 hours to drive here? I'm like, yeah. And Steve's like, those Jimenez women, they never do the cost benefit analysis, just the benefit analysis.
That's great.
Sort of.
But you know what? That's a story right there, because on the flip side is that it doesn't matter.
It doesn't.
We are going to see each other.
Yes.
We are going to stay connected. And that is another, looking at our future self. Like I think those are the stories.
Right.
Well,
I also think like, now just reflecting on that,
Yeah.
that statement. I think that what's part of our family is we think much less about what it might extract from us, how grueling the process might be. We look at what the benefit is going to be, and we don't really do that analysis. We just assume that it's absolutely going to be more beneficial.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And
I think we probably should do some more of the cost benefit analysis.
And you know what? And the other thing is that these little pockets of joy that we create, like, you know, like even if, you know, if we were all stuck at an airport and we were going to be there for about 12 hours and there was no hotel or anything, like we would figure out a way to have maybe a little game, you know, like share some Tic Tacs if that's the only food we have, like we would figure out something. And I think that like some of that comes back to like Titi Delia. I mean, all of those aunts didn't have a lot of education, but Titi Delia would like stand up, you know, like in the middle of a dinner, like after it was all done, and recite a poem or sing a song, you know, all in Spanish. Like, you know, like she may not know like physics, but she would just sing a song. I mean, do you remember that, Mary Jo?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
And that
nice.
it was like a way to just add a little joy. It was a glass of anisette at the end of a meal.
Right. I also remember your father.
But he needed the
doing
anisette to do that.
He would stand on a chair and recite Gunga Din.
Right.
I don't remember
My father loved. My father
one of the things I remember most of Titi Delia was we were talking about the status of her mustache, because she always had a really good, you remember? I love Titi Delia, but Titi Delia always she was always rocking a good mustache. And so every time one of us, we would use the Jolene, we'd be like, Titi Delia gave this to her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you know, we were also lucky, and unfortunately, since Mary, you were so far away, I do remember when I think about our childhood, I think it feels like, it probably wasn't, but I feel like at least once every weekend or every 2 weekends, every Saturday, we were at somebody's house right? We had, you know, we were either at your house, Anita,
Right.
or
Yeah.
at Delia's house, or we were at your house, Mary, or we had Adela's house when she
Vivian, we went to Vivian's house a lot.
Vivian's house. We all moved, you know,
Yeah.
I felt like we did that. It seemed like every weekend, but it probably was every other week and every 3
No,
weeks.
I felt like that too, Vanessa. I remember
like we
sometimes
always
saying to
had a
Mom, are
meal.
we just ever going to have any time just us?
I felt like we were always driving to see family, and it's, you know, even if at the time we kind of begrudged it a bit, we're like, you know, it's a big part of who we were, and it was very cool.
And you know, honestly, that's
Ava
something
and Miranda didn't get to go. But
that's something that I've been thinking about now, just because this is sort of the age where you condition your kids. Like we didn't question what you're saying. We didn't question that we spent almost every weekend either going to family or having family. That was just our existence. And I feel like right now, like if it weren't, you know, we would every President's weekend, we would be at Vanessa's for that, you know, or we would just pop here or there. And I feel like that kind of developing of those family ties, it's just, you know, at least for my kids' age right now.
Yeah.
But you guys in California, you guys do, I mean, in Florida, Deborah, I mean, you have an extended family, so you guys get together a lot, and you live.
Yeah,
close
and it's,
together.
you know, I had Sunday dinner. My parents had Sunday dinner, and my mother-in-law would do Saturday usually. So we would do that. Then when I did Sunday dinner every week. And as the kids started getting older, you know, junior high and high school, baseball games or whatever, times they didn't come, or one didn't come, or I told them, you can eat and run, you know. But it was so important, and we had themes, and we played games, and we did it for years. And when the kids come home from college, we do it. When April comes into town, Carlos's daughter, she'll go, Titi, are we going to do Sunday dinner? And, you know, I say, of course, and then people come over. So it's already a thing that.
Wonderful.
knows it's Sunday dinner. We don't do it every week like we used to, but it really what is the highlight of my week when everybody would come over, even if it ended up just being for an hour.
Yeah.
Remember Julia coming over earlier, like Serena, when they were your daughters young, Julia would come over earlier so she could make the dessert, and she would help plan the games if we had signs to make or whatever. It was a thing, you know. It was usually the boys against the girls with games. And then everybody wanted Julia on her team, on their team, because she was good at certain things. And so, yeah, I agree with you. I think it's when they're younger, they start this, and then they see the benefit of it, and hopefully that they'll do it too. I know Wednesday night before Thanksgiving, I started a tradition where they come over and we bake for Thanksgiving. And 26, 21, 21, they were still here on Wednesday night, the Wednesday night before Thanksgiving. And Anthony had to leave his friends early and go, "Why are you going to your grandparents' house?" And he goes, "Because that's the tradition." And I want to go.
That's
So
a big deal, yeah.
he was even like being intimidated by his friends, like, "Oh, you don't have to go there." He goes, "I'm not going just because they expect me. I want to go."
Right.
So it's a nice thing that you started, however little, especially during these COVID times.
Yeah.
But I mean, I felt growing up that I missed all of you. I felt I missed all of you. You know, and listening to your stories and stuff, it would have been nice to be a part of that. I mean, I'm grateful that I had it since our first reunion and have had that. But you all did some things that, you know, just sounded great and fun. And I think it's stuff that you all do now with your kids. It would be great. So anyway, I've seen, I don't know, some of you aren't on Facebook, Loresta, they've been having a lot of things. The kids all have been having birthdays, and the pictures of, you know, she's got so many kids and they have so many kids. There've been huge get-togethers for celebrating birthdays, even over these last few months. We might even task them with something they could do when that group
All together. Right, because someone could video the story.
Pictures, right, or something with that multi-generational thing right within her core. Because I have noticed that a lot, lately, a lot of them getting together. You know, just
I remember last time we talked about like doing like a family reunion a while ago, Liana was like really down to help and plan. So she might be a good point person for that side of the group. She might be someone who would want to be looped into this stuff. Yeah, I have her number.
Why don't you reach out and tell her what we're doing and see if she has interest?
Yeah.
Yeah, I will. I'll text her.
And you know something? If we find that there is somebody that we reach out to that really wants to be part of the team, the next time we Zoom, we invite them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, also, I can volunteer myself to start the Zooms because I have my student account and it doesn't give us a time limit. So we won't have to worry about restarting.
Good.
So if you want, I can send the links and we won't get kicked out at first.
Yeah.
Hey, you know, Ava, Miranda, before we get off, I want you to know that when we used to go over to Titi Celia, so Anita's mom's house, Titi Celia's house, I don't know why, but I always remember, Serena, do you remember, like, usually everybody would be here and somehow then Mary Jo then will make an entrance. It always seemed like you came a little bit later, Mary Jo. And I don't know, for me.
That's because she was sleeping over a hangover. I know what Mary Jo was doing. I went to the hard ride, the heartbreak with her. I know.
No, I was always like, it's Mary Jo. She lives in New York. Like, we thought New York was like this, I don't know what you think, like this romantic Hollywood something version of like she was overseas in France. Like, there's Mary. She's the cool cousin who comes from
And she lives, and her apartment is near
like little black dresses, and you just always looked a little more chic than the rest of us, right, Anita? And like, I was like this little kid, like, Mary's here, Mary Jo's here.
I thought the same thing with her living in New York and how cool it was. I thought the same thing.
And now look, she lives in the
was
most
like
progressive state.
Floor, right?
What?
And now she lives in the most progressive state.
Right.
I know. I still think she's chic and cool, so that's carried over.
That's great.
I just remember that.
Hey,
all right,
so
so we're gonna split it up. So Mary, you're Ubering, you're upping your ancestry, and you'll share.
Yep.
We'll try to share with Ava, and the three of us maybe could divide up some research as we get like more names from birth certificates, and we can see if we can pull anything else out. And then it sounds like Ava, Miranda, you guys will open up whatever the box, the drop folder, whatever you guys decide to do, where we you know, can upload things or send them to you, whatever you guys tell us to do. And then, and it sounds like Anita, at least, and Miranda, at a minimum, want to start doing some.
And Ava.
Oh, which one was, no, Miranda, I thought you wanted to do, who'd want to do the research? Miranda or Ava?
Miranda.
Miranda, okay, Miranda, you're with me and Mary, and then Ava and Anita, you guys might start doing some interviews. I will at least scan the booklet. And Deborah, you think you already have even something to start the decision, the tree?
Yeah, and I have some, and I could start with the interviews, and I wrote down some other questions that you guys, and so I'll work on the interview thing, and I don't mind doing interviews too when we're ready to get to that
So
point.
maybe,
Serena, you choose.
maybe Deborah and Ava and I can maybe this week just touch base a little bit.
Yeah, I think if we come up like a list of questions, and I can ask
Yeah.
Miranda too and see if she would do that side. I would love to, like, we can do some over Zoom too for like content's sake, but I would also love to redo them so that we're not like memorialized in a pandemic setting for time to come. But it would still,
right.
It's so nice to, we could do both of them maybe.
I think it would also be cool to, like, when we build out the family tree, it might also be cool to at least send, well, first of all, I think that one page we had that had everybody's address and birth dates on it was just nice. And I love getting my cards from Deborah. Deborah's awesome at using the family calendar, right? But I actually did think that was nice to do, where everybody had like a little bit of a calendar of something where everybody's birthdays and like contact information. So at some point, I mean, I still have the original list, but I think it would also just be good to have everybody's contact information in one place at some point, and just do that. I mean, that could be on that's like such a simple thing, but just to be able to have an address, an email, or a phone number, I think would be great. If somebody has a Twitter account, fine, put it on there, you know what I mean? So I think collecting that information, but it might be interesting though, those surveys that we have, because at some point it might be interesting to just load them up after I scan them. But for all the people who weren't built out on the family tree when we did that, as much as we're going to also video a lot of these people, we could ask the rest of the family to answer those. Because the questions were pretty timeless. Like, they weren't questions about like, what are you doing on Friday? It was like, you know, it was like, what did you always want to be when you grow up? Or where did you live at this time? So it might be interesting to find, like, you know, the like 30 other people who are now in our family to just let them fill it out, you know? That's just mailing.
We could also do like a Google form that's like a simple survey that'll put it all together. We can just email it out. That's like, what's your name and what's your birthday, and like, are you in school or do you have a job, and like, you know, just to get all of this, like, what's your address, just to get all the stats, and like people can just fill that out, and like we can have access to it on our end. That way people can just do it at their own time, and we can have like the fact sheet.
We need to ask Loresta to get in contact with Joey or whoever's phone number she has in Puerto Rico, because we don't have those connections for
that would be very cool.
And Justin, and Joey. So, but I think she said the last time we had a call or something that she was in touch with Joey. So
who found out that Mark David died? Because that would be the person who would have the most.
Loresta.
Okay.
He seems to be the one who could warn, like, even when there was all the hurricane and all she seemed to be the one that was calling up in a casual way, because she normally talks to them.
But I want you to know what's really strange. Joey called me when Titi Petra died. But that was, I went to visit them, and I went to his house and visited Titi Petra. He called me, but when I texted him and I sent him an email to get his information and his brother's information, he hasn't responded. So, you know, I think Loresta really needs to reach out. And I don't know what happened with Yvette, because she and I used to stay in touch, and then all of a sudden her email changed and her telephone number changed. So I've sent her a couple of things on Facebook, but she hasn't responded yet.
I'll reach out to Joey too, because I mean, on Facebook, and and we have very similar politics, so he might be very open to having communication.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
How about I'll send you, when I scan the thing, but I can this week, I can send you the addresses that are in the book right now, which obviously not all are, good, but some are the same.
Yeah.
And we could.
I'm going to say goodbye because I just have to get the kids to bed. They were up way late. So, all right, Vanessa, I'll circle back with you. Okay.
Yeah. Whatever I do.
Serena, it's so good to see you.
I see you.
Bye.
Thank you. It was really
Bye.
great. Bye.
But yeah, I think building out our address information, but Ava and Miranda, I can scan what I have, but I think it'd probably be silly for me to type it into something because probably it's better if it's typed into whatever format you guys end up doing it, right? But I mean, I think if we could start spreading the word to people that we're trying to gather family information, and that to eventually be shared out, through whatever, WhatsApp, Facebooks, whatever. And then as we get the emails and the phone numbers and, whatever people want to tell us, kind of we'll log it all in.
I'm going to start working on the family tree in like a spreadsheet format just to compile all the information before we like design it visually.
Yep.
And so I'll start putting all that info that got emailed back and forth, and then with whatever you send, Vanessa.
Okay.
And then I'll send it out and everyone can look at it and see if it looks correct. And we can see where we're missing.
I'll scan the tree that you guys had and then the info pages, the address pages. And then next week I'll have Adam scan like the rest of it. And I feel like, I think I at least have, for some reason, I think a lot of the photos that were in that booklet and the calendar, I think I might still have those, but I haven't actually searched all my old files. So maybe I still have like the calendar. Yeah. I'll see what photos I still have. Like in a digital.
And I have the old video. I have like the
you.
digital version of like the old family reunion videos.
Oh, okay.
So I can put that.
An old family video of that reunion.
Yeah, there's
first one?
the first one. They did like interviews, kind of like this, and there's a
But
few
it was
of them.
video of it. I don't remember.
Yeah, we did at the first family
I
reunion,
can show
we
you.
did we did interviews and videos of each.
Oh my God, that's so great.
Oh, upload those.
Yeah,
but
when I
figure it out.
Yeah, I went to the Rester in Louis like 2 years ago when we were here over the summer, and we like digitized them. So I have them on the Google Drive.
Oh my
I can
God,
share.
that could be so mashed up.
Oh, that'd be fun.
Yeah, I
Right?
think
I mean,
it'd be
we
fun to
have
like,
to
put them
make
side
this
by
fun.
side.
To make this like contemporary, so people will want to see it.
Anita wants there to be like a wiki, like, like all this.
Right, but
I'll
we could
finesse it
mash that
somehow.
up with like current ones. Like I think that, and like in those old ones, we would have Titi Laura, right, speaking, right. So, there's a lot of good opportunity.
All right, I didn't know that.
So if we're making like Jimenez
Time is
Wikipedia.
going out again.
Yeah.
But I think
So,
repeat.
do we want to get together next week?
I think maybe let's exchange, and then within 2 weeks, because I think I would like to, when Mary starts, get the ancestry up to let's each take 2 weeks to like kind of build out a little bit about what we're talking
Let's
about.
do
Like,
that. Okay.
I'll make that Google form.
Questions,
Okay.
that kind of thing.
So Ava, you're going to be in charge of Zoom, so that we don't have to keep jumping back on.
Yeah, so 2 Saturdays from now, we'll do another Zoom and we'll exchange between.
So let me just
set up. Should we do like a text group for family reunion stuff so that we don't have to always add everybody? Like where the 7 of us are on one.
Like us.
What's up?
Yeah. We can make one for like our little history committee.
Yeah, we could do something like that. But I understand what Anita, as we go, we'll streamline and figure out how we do our, maybe
Just
we could
because, like, I
do
mean,
a lot by text, so you're just following one, one text, and only use the emails when for some reason you really have to upload something that's not going to go elsewhere.
I think we're talking about in 2 weeks, but is that February 6th?
Yes.
All right, I can't make it that. I happen to have something going on.
That's
In
exciting.
COVID, where are you going?
I know. Sarah and the kids are coming over because it's Sarah's birthday.
Okay, we could do
Usually
the
go out, but lately I invite them over and I have a birthday party and we have birthday hats and we play little games and balloons, helium balloons. Like, I mean, because, I have a 4-year-old and a 1-year-old grandkid, right? So like we make it fun. It's a birthday party.
All right.
So
Do it the
do we
weekend
want
after.
to wait 3 weeks? Is that, or do we want to make it Friday?
13th.
do we want to do it Friday the 5th?
I could do Friday too, or I mean, you know, either way, I'm fine. Either way. If you
My
guys
kids
want
are
to-
Yeah.
working.
The only thing with,
It won't work for them.
yeah, I would have to do it after 6 our time, which would be like 9 East Coast.
Okay,
So if that's
so
too
let's
late,
do Saturday.
but
Or you know what?
Let's
Or
do
Sunday.
let's do 3 Saturdays from now, and then in the meantime, we'll try to start compiling stuff. And as
Right.
you know,
Mhm.
in the
Yeah.
meantime, if we have something really good, I'll send it to everybody. But like the main
Okay.
thing is get it to Ava and Miranda, right? Because they're going to figure out the format to
Mhm.
put it up.
Yeah.
So February
Or-
13th then.
Is that okay for you guys?
Or do you want to, or
That
would you
works.
prefer Sunday?
Saturday's good for me.
Saturday.
Saturday works better for me
I have
too.
one
Okay,
on
all right.
Do
Okay.
you want to do the same time?
Yeah,
Like
7
4,
o'clock
7?
on the 13th.
Okay, sounds
Cool.
good. All right, love you guys. Have a really good week.
Okay,
Bye, everybody.
You
This has
too.
been fun.
Bye. Good
See
to see
you.
you guys.
Bye.
Hello.
Bye.